Hello, everybody. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. We have a very special guest in the studio with us today, and we will talk about Tennessee and Georgia and all the things that we like, and also more Tebow talk because that's necessary. But before we do that, let me tell you where you can find us on the web. That would be Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Search Hot News Talk Radio in your respective search bars, or you could go to our website, hotnewstalkradio.com, where you can stream all of our programming 24/7, 365, and get links to all the social media sites from there as well. Don't forget to check us out in the TuneIn Radio app. Again, that's the TuneIn Radio app, which is absolutely free on whatever mobile device you use. Search Hot News Talk Radio, give us a favorite, and press play, and you'll have Hot News Talk Radio everywhere. Joining me on the show today is my good friend, Chris Goforth, and he is here to talk about the high school football jamboree, which he will be hosting.
Yeah, Keon, the high school football jamboree is coming up this weekend. It's Friday and Saturday at Finley Stadium, and it's 20 area teams included in that. Red Bank is in that. Soddy Daisy is in that. Hickson is in that. You know, Baylor, McCallie, Boyd Buchanan, all the usual suspects. Friday and Saturday night, and we can run down the schedule if you want. But what takes place is basically it's 30-minute running quarters. As I drop my phone, that's not good. Hopefully it stays in place. Thank you for picking it up. But it's 30 minutes of a running clock for each quarter. And essentially for everybody, it's a chance to have a dress rehearsal and a chance for everybody's coming out full uniforms. It operates just like a game. Now there's no kickoff.
Okay.
And punts aren't live, but everything else is pretty much just like a game. So it's not like a scrimmage where you may see coaches on the field sometimes or something like that. That's not the case here. This is, 5 quarters of football on Friday and 5 quarters of football on Saturday. Starts again on Friday. 6:30 is the time the first quarter begins. It'll cost you $8 to get in the door.
Okay.
So if you want to come out, bring the family. Again, $8 at the door. Gates will probably open at around 5:30. Brainerd and Howard play in that first quarter, which is the kind of that's an old school Hamilton County sort of rivalry with Brainerd and Howard. And then you have Chattanooga Christian against Sale Creek. Grace Academy and Boyd Buchanan. McCallie plays Giles County. Giles County from Pulaski, Tennessee. That's one of the that's really the only school that's a part of this that really isn't from our area. Tyner and Hickson then play the final game later that night on Friday night, and then Saturday again, 6:30. It's Notre Dame Baylor, Walker Valley Red Bank, East Ridge Soddy Daisy, Central and Ottawa, East Hamilton, and McMinn County.
Okay. So it sounds like a pretty loaded lineup. As far as bringing your family and your friends out to go see this, is there a lot of traffic? Is it something you have to get there early for to probably beat the?
We typically will run somewhere between 7,000 to 10,000 people.
Okay.
On a given night. So, but again, not everybody stays all 5 quarters. Some folks come to see their team. People will come to watch Hickson play, and then after Hickson's finished, they leave. Some folks come and will stay for all 5 quarters and watch everybody. Some people come one night, some people come both nights. So, but all totaled, on a given night, there'll be somewhere between 7,000 and 10,000 people there. Parking generally is not a problem. And really we've had very few issues with parking for that matter, or even crowd control. Folks are pretty well behaved. So again, it's not like you got to worry when you come out about, what kind of an environment you're bringing your kids into. It's pretty much like going to any other high school football game in the area. The only difference is you've got 20 teams and 2 nights together.
Which is kind of cool. Which team are you looking forward to seeing play the most?
This is maybe as wide open, I feel like, of a year that we have had, especially among the Hamilton County schools. And I think everybody that you go into will tell you, they all have question marks right now. I don't think that there's anybody out there that will be there Friday night that you can sit here and say, yeah, they have it. They've got it all. They've got all the answers right now. Probably the closest team to that is McCallie, based on the coaches I've talked to, the other media folks I've talked to. Everybody tends to feel like McCallie is the team. So we'll see. Now, in the division that McCallie plays in, you can be really good and still end up going 6-4.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, you're talking about playing, they play Brentwood Academy, they play Innsworth, they play Montgomery Bell Academy, a lot of those Nashville private schools that are typically at least one of those schools will be ranked in the USA Today top 25.
Right. Brentwood Academy is a factor.
Yeah, Brentwood Academy is always a factor. Innsworth is where Tim McGraw, the country music guy, and his wife, Faith Hill, that's where their kids go to school. So they're big donors at Innsworth. Of course, if you know anything at all about high school football across the state of Tennessee, Brentwood Academy is kind of that. I mean, they are the bell cow for the state with the success that they've had. So yeah, McCallie plays they're playing one of the top ranked teams out of Atlanta from the state of Georgia this year in the regular season. I mean, they have got a brutal schedule. So. But now McCallie also has some really outstanding players too. Robert Riddle, their quarterback, is fantastic. He'll end up getting a chance to play somewhere on a Saturday next year. Giovanni Hightower, who is their tight end, he's about 6'4" and about 240 and can run with good hands.
Mercy.
Yes. And they've got a defensive back whose name is completely escaping me right now, but a lot of people feel like he's got a chance to be an impact player somewhere at the next level. So, McCallie's got a great stable. They're going to be really, really good right now. If you were to say, hey, put your money on, who would you put your money on? I think McCallie's probably the best team. But again, you can be really good and play in their division and not get very far.
Right.
So we'll see. We'll see.
This is Clutch with Keon Rose, and we have in studio with us Chris Goforth talking some high school football because he will be hosting the high school football Jamboree coming up this weekend, and it features Hickson and Saudi Daisy and all of the schools that you are familiar with in this area.
Yep. And
now that I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it'll be a lot of fun, for the folks here in the Hickson and Saudi Daisy areas. Coach Duff and Hickson, I'm excited to see what they look like. Rolling into this year. And I'm a big fan of Coach Duff. I think he does a tremendous job, and he's got so many just quality guys that are a part of his staff. And, when you get around some of these guys, you start to realize the ones that you would want to have your son or daughter play for, whatever the sport is. Dan Duff is one of those guys. I mean, he's teaching lessons that go beyond blocking and tackling. He teaches his kids a lot of life lessons, and that's really, really important, I think, in the scope of athletics. And he does all that. So I'm excited to see what they look like. We'll see what Saudi looks like. Red Bank's going to have a new offensive coordinator this year in Drew Akins, who's come over from Ottawa and has joined Coach Grabowski's staff. So maybe a new look to Red Bank. So I think if one of those three or your three teams, there's plenty of reason to come out and see what they look like Friday and Saturday night. Again, it's presented by Zaxby's. I want to thank the good folks at Zaxby's for making this thing, kind of making it possible. And but a good time and two big nights of high school football.
All right. Make sure to check it out. We will mention that later in the show. But do you mind if we change gears here a little bit?
Change them.
All right. Because I want to talk about Tim Tebow. I don't know if there is a more polarizing person who personality-wise is not actually polarizing.
Right.
Because
right.
I was looking through it. I thought to myself today, all of the guys that you know who are polarizing for two reasons. They are either polarizing because they're really good, but then off the field of play, they've got a lot of concerns, a lot of issues around them, or we're not actually sure if they're really good. And so I had my list of polarizing athletes, which include Tiger Woods, who off the field, the marital issues,
sure,
have made him polarizing. Jay Cutler, no off the field issues. We're just not sure if he's actually any good.
Right. Tony Romo fits in that same category, right?
Yeah.
What about Matt Ryan?
It depends. If
he plays any place else, okay, other than Atlanta, does he fall into that category?
I don't think so.
Really? Is he viewed differently if he plays outside of Atlanta, where he's pretty much hidden, right?
Yeah. He is pretty much hidden. Okay, with Matt Ryan, you look at the offensive line and how bad that's been.
Oh yeah, they've been
just how just inconsistent that whole team has been, and like the running game's not ever been reliable for him, really. I don't know if it's him or I guess he falls in there. I guess that's exactly what it is.
I mean, how much do we really know? I mean, we've seen the guy throw for 4,000 yards and a boatload of touchdowns. Last year we saw him have 28 turnovers, 16 interceptions, and 12 fumbles.
Right.
So,
he
but
pretty much does fall in there, I guess.
That's one more that I think I would put in there because I don't know that we have enough to feel about him one way or the other. And certainly Romo. I mean, based upon your criteria, there is nobody more polarizing maybe in the NFL in terms of that is he or isn't he than Tony Romo.
It would have to be him. Tony Romo is a guy who the eye test gives you one impression, the numbers give you a completely different impression.
Did you see the supposed picture of him running out on the practice field where he looked like he had just left In-N-Out Burger before he made it to practice?
It looked like he ate the other three NFC East quarterbacks.
No doubt, man. No doubt. Poor Tony. That guy, he cannot catch a break.
Not at all. And everyone's been talking about that. But like what makes an athlete not polarizing? A non-polarizing athlete is somebody who is
boring?
Boring, at least socially.
I mean, Tom Brady's pretty polarizing, right?
Yeah.
And Tom Brady is, if you listen to the interviews that Tom Brady gives, Tom Brady's pretty stinking boring.
He's pretty boring. I think there's some jealousy there with Tom Brady. That Tom Brady's just got a life that you want, and you have to.
What, you mean we don't all go home to a supermodel wife who is worth more money than you are?
Unfortunately.
When you're making what? When you just signed a $28 million contract and your wife is making more money than you?
That is correct.
What was her purpose at the Olympics? On the opening ceremony?
She's Brazilian.
She walked. That's what she did. That's what she contributed was the dress and the walk. That's what you got. That's the reason why they had Giselle there, is for her to wear that dress and walk. I'm not complaining about it. Don't get me wrong.
That is her. That is why she makes more money than him.
That's her gift.
She
all have a gift
for a living.
Your gift is to do this, Keon. Her gift is to wear that dress and walk, because nobody would want to see you in that dress.
But no, they wouldn't. that there is. If you guys need some eye bleach, I don't know where they have that, but no, you don't want to see that at all. A person who is currently not polarizing, though I think early on because of his battles with Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Gordon, sort of came around to not being polarizing.
Jeff Gordon stuck around long enough to go from being hated to beloved, right? I mean, would you agree with that he was, at the time when, the whole Rainbow Warrior thing, everybody disliked. You had to pick a side. You were either Earnhardt or you were Gordon. You didn't feel towards either one of those two guys. You were passionate one way or the other.
I grew up in a Gordon house, so I definitely know.
Did you really?
Yes, I grew up in a Gordon house where we were not NASCAR fans, and then very suddenly, because Jeff Gordon was from the North and sounded like all of us, we were suddenly NASCAR fans, and we were Gordon people.
Well, he is largely responsible for taking what had been a regional sport, and guys and he wasn't the only one. Alan Kulwicki, the late Alan Kulwicki, was a part of this in NASCAR, who took NASCAR from being this regional southern sport with southern roots, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, they're racing all over the country, and NASCAR develops this huge following through the 90s, and guys like that were a big part of it. Now, a lot of people will feel like that they kind of ruined NASCAR, not because they made it more popular nationally, but, I mean, let's face it, if you pulled, short of Tony Stewart, who I think most people can recognize,
right?
Unless you're a hardcore NASCAR guy, if you pull the mask, you pull the helmet off most of those NASCAR guys, you put them all in street clothes, can anybody, they all have the same haircut. You know, they all go to the same barber.
Nobody has any distinct personality that's different enough.
And Junior. Okay, so you got Tony Stewart, you got Dale Jr., and that's it in NASCAR. The rest of those guys, you know, and I know people say, well, you know, Harvick and Edwards and all this. Look, when you put them in street clothes, I don't care what they do on the track or how controversial they try to be. You put those guys in street clothes, unless you're a hardcore NASCAR guy, you don't know who the heck those guys are.
Yeah, they have to pass the girlfriend test, as I call it, which is if my girlfriend can recognize them, that person has star power.
See, I have the mom test.
Yeah.
You know, I asked my mom, do you know who that is? Okay, mom knows who Michael Jordan is.
Correct.
Okay, so Michael Jordan passes the test. I don't think Jimmy Johnson or Carl Edwards would pass the mom test. Now, I haven't asked mom, and I may do that. Now, mom was a Jeff Gordon fan. Okay, mom likes Jeff Gordon,
Your mom
and
sounds like a great person.
She could pick out Jeff Gordon. She loves him. But now the rest of them, I don't think, not only would she not know, I don't think she would care.
Right. I mean, my girlfriend can tell me, you know, oh, that's Steph Curry. She couldn't tell me, oh, that's Greg Biffle. Like, it wouldn't.
Right.
There's no.
Right. I couldn't either. So that's
right.
Okay.
Actually, me too. It doesn't even pass the me test, much less the girlfriend test.
Right.
But what Tim Tebow is a polarizing guy. But
is he okay? Is he a Kardashian? I mean, is there some Kardashian in Tim Tebow? Because I just look at this. Why? That's the question I want to ask Tim Tebow. And I understand, man, you have got that competitive drive where you want to go be, you know, you still want to get after it. I got you.
I think that's what it is.
I understand. But really? This is the way you're going to go about doing it?
Here's the thing.
Can he not join a cornhole league somewhere? I mean, a bowling league, throw darts at buds, anything.
I don't see why you have to stop football if competing is what you want to do. The Canadian Football League would take Tim Tebow.
How about change positions and you can get a job in the NFL?
If competing is the deal.
Because there are plenty of teams in the NFL that if he said, I'm willing to play tight end, H-back,
they'd give him
fullback,
a shot.
that would at least give him he would be in camp somewhere. He's not an NFL quarterback. He can't throw well enough.
I mean, that's basically all it is. And I don't know why, if competing is the deal here, you're going to go play baseball, a sport you haven't played competitively in 11 years. You're 29 years old. If you make it to the majors, and that's like the gigantic if you even make it, you're going to be in your 30s at the fastest. You'll be 32, maybe 33. This seems like an attention grab.
Oh, it's a total Kardashian move.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a total Kardashian move.
No, I don't want to agree with you on that one. I really don't. Oh, no.
This is a total Kardashian move by Tim Tebow.
Tim Tebow's a Kardashian.
And I liked him. I have tons of respect for Tim Tebow. I love what he stands for. I love his, the fact that, he has stood up for his faith and for what he believes. And I love that about him. And I have a ton of respect for him because of that. But there is no other way to look at this than to say, this is some sort of an attention get. It's unbelievable. Why do you want to do this? And look, you could have that cushy job sitting next to Paul Feinbaum on the SEC network every Saturday.
And he's good at that, too.
He's very good at it.
I like watching Tim Tebow on TV.
Yeah, he's really good at it.
It's one of the more perplexing things that I've ever seen.
Why? And if you're Major League Baseball And they're playing into this thing, okay, because they're going to send all 30 teams are going to send a scout.
Right.
To go watch. Come on, this guy hasn't played. And look, he was an all-state baseball player as a junior in Nice, Florida.
His batting average was like 494.
Yeah, almost 500. Okay.
Crazy.
That is in the state of Florida. There's guys in Florida that can totally play. Okay. So you do that in Florida. Yeah, there's some talent. But you're talking about an 11-year layoff.
And that's way too long. You're listening to Hot 1240. Clutch with Keon Rose. We'll be back. We'll talk about the Vols and Kirby Smart. Is Kirby on the hot seat already? Next.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. I'm Larry Daniels from Daniels Insurance, and on the average, our customers save $400 a year. We offer retirement vehicles and annuities in addition to other investment products that help you protect your family. Call 423-332-4774.
Order a 16-inch pizza at Toscano's Italian Grill and get a free 10-inch pizza. Toscano's, authentic Italian food, fresh-made ingredients and sauces. When you and your bambino sit down at Toscano Italian Grill, you're served by smiling people. They make you feel like part of the family. Toscano's is easy to find. It's in the recruiting center at 153 and Lee Highway. Toscano's, scrumptious pizzas made with fresh dough, come to you bubbling hot from an authentic brick oven. Mention Hot News Talk Radio and you'll get a free 10-inch pizza when you order a 16-incher. Heaping portions, friendly, 10:30 to 10:30, 7 days a week. Toscano delivers. 805-3888. Like us on Facebook. Ask about Toscano's app. Nobody does it better. Mention Hot News Talk Radio and you'll get a free 10-inch pizza with 2 toppings when you order a 16-incher. 805-3888. Nobody does it better.
Finding just the right place to live can be a daunting task. Stop your search. In Chattanooga, the place to live is Cross Creek Villas for under $1,000 and available for immediate move-in. You can enjoy this 2-bedroom split layout, over 1,000 square feet, 9-foot ceilings, an extra large patio or balcony. And don't forget to ask about their preferred employer program. Cross Creek Villas is a gated community offering a 24-hour fitness facility, a beautiful pool and hot tub, and Cross Creek Villas is pet friendly. Stroll the pet park with your best friend and enjoy the free use of their business center and clubhouse. Plus, if you mention you heard this on the radio, your application fee is free. Cross Creek Villas, close to downtown off of Highway 58. Go to crosscreekchattanooga.com. That's crosscreekchattanooga.com or call 894-0446. That's 894-0446. Redefine the way you live at Cross Creek Villas. Go to crosscreekchattanooga.com or call 894-0446. Cross Creek Villas.
Any lingering showers will quickly diminish through the nighttime. Otherwise warm and muggy overnight. Lows only 73 to 75. For Thursday and Friday, hot and humid through the days with partly sunny skies. Just a slight chance of a stray shower with high temperatures back into the lower 90s. Dr. Ron Phillips has released the most important book he's ever written, The Unraveling of America. He pulls back the curtain and exposes those who are pulling the strings and unraveling the fabric of America. Available to Amazon or ronphillips.org. And I'm George Team 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Hot 1240 Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. Multiple shootings overnight on Windsor Street and Sharp Street. According to the police, one man was shot on Windsor Street, a 25-year-old Jamario Gibson, shot through the leg. And on Sharp Street, 2 juveniles were shot at. Both are suffering from non-life-threatening gunshot wounds, taken to the hospital. They're expected to be okay. The CPD is still investigating. There's no suspect information at this time. A homeowner defended his property on Highway 58 when he says he saw a man rummaging through his girlfriend's truck parked outside. He grabbed his handgun and went outside to confront the man. When he saw what he thought was a gun in the man's hand, he shot a warning shot into the ground and ordered the man to the ground. It turned out that he was holding knuckle dusters or brass knuckles instead of a gun. Police arrived and arrested him. He's been charged now with aggravated robbery and theft over $1,000. The search for Skyla L. Wilson is still continuing on, and now police are looking in South Carolina and Florida as well. They believe the child may have been taken from Bradley County to a beach on either South Carolina or Florida's coast. If it's going on the Tennessee Valley, it's going on Hot 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
Hot News Talk 1240.
This is Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. And joining us in the studio today is Chris Goforth, who will be hosting the high school football jamboree this weekend. I encourage you to come out and see the likes of Hickson and Soddy Daisy and Red Bank as they all play in what is a dress rehearsal type game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a chance you make sure everybody knows how to put their pads on at this point, and everybody lines up correctly, and you know, you go through a little bit of an abbreviated pregame warm-up and, 30 minutes running clock for each quarter. I think each coach gets like one timeout. So they tend to go, fairly quickly. And nobody's going to show a whole lot at one of these. I mean, it's like watching NFL preseason.
Right.
And the fact that, nobody's going to show what their blitz package looks like or anything like that. It'll be fairly vanilla. But here's the one thing I can guarantee you. Friday and Saturday night, Keon.
What?
They will use the correct paint on the field at Finley Stadium. We will have football Friday and Saturday
So we're
nights.
not going to have any game cancellation because the field is as hard as concrete.
No. It will not be like running in tar. There will be football Friday. So if you were disappointed at what happened Sunday night in Canton, you can still get your football fix. I'm offering it in person, $8 at the door for the high school football jamboree.
Perfect, which is exactly why I watch preseason football, even though every year I swear off of preseason football. It's just to see people in pads.
Exactly.
To see the uniforms on.
Exactly. I mean, I look forward to it. Have you ever been more disappointed for a meaningless game? You're a Redskin fan. You've been disappointed in meaningless games many a times.
Yeah, I call that halfway through the season.
but seriously, for a game between two teams that I really have no rooting interest in, I was genuinely disappointed Sunday night. Just generally not happy that they ruined my plans for the evening.
Which is weird because I don't even plan on watching the whole game. I just kind of wind up doing it. But about 5 minutes of, yay, the uniforms I recognize are back. Like that's what I want, and that's what the high school football jamboree is all about.
Exactly.
So I will stop by.
Yeah, it's a chance to get out and see football in person. And it's two great nights, and again, it's a lot of fun. It's still a big deal. I think if you ask most of these kids that participate, to them, the opportunity to play in that stadium, on that turf, at Finley is in front of a big crowd is a big deal. It's a big deal.
It certainly is. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. And we're just going to jump into some college football talk here.
Jump.
Yes. Jump.
Good Van Halen song.
It is a great song. Actually.
Yeah, it is.
Let's talk about Tennessee because Tennessee's schedule is not that tough. Except for about 4 games close to the middle of it,
right?
Where it's kind of brutal,
right?
And the 4 games would be Florida, Georgia, Texas A&M, and Alabama, just consecutively,
right?
And so the question that I was wondering earlier today was, which of those games is the most important game on the schedule?
Well, I think I look at 3, and then I narrow my 3 being Georgia, Florida, and Alabama.
Right.
Okay. If you're Tennessee, you can afford to lose to Alabama and still get to where you want to be. I mean, I think you can lose to Alabama and still end up getting to Atlanta and playing for an SEC championship. Okay.
Right.
So I take the Alabama game out. That brings us down to Florida and Georgia. In terms of what game is the most important, Johnny Majors lost his job at Tennessee. He was 4-12 after 16 years against Alabama. Now, a good portion of that, he was going up against Bear Bryant for the last about half that time. Johnny Majors couldn't beat Alabama. Butch Jones better beat Florida, or he won't make it 16 years before he's let go. So, and Tennessee is a better football team than Florida. You can't choke this one away. You've got to beat Florida because you've beaten Georgia, So I think that takes a little bit of the edge off that Georgia game. But you got to beat Florida. You have to.
We were talking earlier about the last time Tim Tebow played baseball competitively was 11 years ago. Was also the last time the Tennessee beat Florida.
It's been a while.
So
it's been a while.
That just has to happen. It just has to happen there. And then, of course, the 4 games, Florida's the first game.
Right.
With all of the momentum rolling into that, if you win that game against Florida, I think that helps roll into the next 3 games.
The trap game for Tennessee this year is Texas A&M. Because I'm telling you, you're right. They are sneaky good. The fact that I know a lot's been made of, Kevin Summerlin, is he on the hot seat? Is he not on the hot seat? I don't know. First off, his buyout is ridiculous. Okay, so it's going to take a whole lot of money if you want to get rid of Kevin Sumlin at the end of this year. So I don't necessarily think that he is necessarily on a hot seat in that regard, but I do think there's plenty of pressure on him. He does have Trevor McKnight coming in to play quarterback, who transferred in from Oklahoma.
Right.
I think with those wide receivers, I think they've got a chance to be pretty good. John Chavis, the former Tennessee defensive coordinator, now the defensive coordinator at Texas A&M, after spending a couple of years at LSU. He has got 2 fantastic defensive ends at Texas A&M. Chavis, the way he would prefer to play is to play man coverage and then turn your front 7 loose to wreak havoc. He's got the defensive ends and the linebackers to be able to turn it loose and to wreak havoc. The question is, can the back end of that defense hold up playing one-on-one? I think they can play well enough to be able to cause problems. Wouldn't surprise me at all if they ended up, again, to me, that's the trap game on the Tennessee schedule. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they ended up beating Tennessee.
I wouldn't be surprised by it either, especially when you consider Tennessee has some limitations on offense, one of which being Butch Jones in the 4th quarter. I still have to see that go well.
Well, and here's what I'll say to that. If you go back and watch the Alabama game from last year, and I know Tennessee lost that game, less than 5 minutes to play, Tennessee marches downfield and scored in that game. And I don't remember what that made. I don't know if that made it a 1-score game at that point or if it even put Tennessee in the lead. I can't remember now. But less than 5 to play, they go on a march and come away with points. To me, I think that showed those guys on that team a lot of confidence that, hey, we can close things out. Even though they lost, I think that drive is really important for Tennessee. My real question about Tennessee on offense is, and this is blasphemy for Tennessee fans, is Josh Dobbs.
He can't. He's not a strong arm guy.
He's not. He's also not a very accurate guy, especially when he tries to throw downfield. He's phenomenal making plays with his legs. Great kid, smart. You're talking about guys you want to represent your program. He's one. But sometimes you just got to say a guy is what a guy is. Jake Locker was about a 55% passer when he was in college. He went to the NFL. Jake Locker was a 55% passer. Or in the NFL with the Titans, he was a 55% passer. I feel the same way about Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs is a 55% passer. I don't know that he is going to be anything more than that. So given that limitation, how do you work this offense then? Can you win the SEC with Hurd and Kamara carrying the load?
Well, you can. I think you're going to have to. I think Dobbs' numbers are closer to 60%, but like you said, not the most accurate passer, and a lot of those passes were bubble screen type
right.
plays.
Yeah, take that. What's his? I'd love to see the numbers. What his percentage of passes over 10 yards, over 15 yards, over 20 yards. I'd love to see what his numbers are at that point from a completion percentage standpoint, because I get the feeling they're not going to be the best.
I don't think so either, just based from just on the eye test, just what I've seen. I think they're more than capable of running their way to a lot of victories. I just think that they're in that one position where when they're behind, that's a little bit of a danger zone for them, because when you're a running team, you're now always running the clock out as you try to come back, which is where I think they got in trouble with Arkansas last season, was when they were behind. There was no passing. There was no big play efficiency to get them back in the game, and time ran out on them.
And I don't want to sound like a negative ninny, because I think Tennessee's got a chance to be really good.
I still think they're going to win the East, but as negative as all that sounds.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. And I think the best hire in all of college football this offseason has been Bob Shoop coming to Tennessee and taking over as the defensive coordinator. He was the defensive coordinator for Vandy when they went and won 9 games in back-to-back years. I don't think that can be overemphasized enough. The fact that, this is a guy that got it done in this conference before, and that's how Vandy won, is they ran the football well and they played good defense. So if he can do that again, and he's never had the type, and he's talked about this since he's been in Knoxville, the fact that he's never had the type of players, the type of athletes that he has right now at Tennessee. You saw what he did the last 2 years, I guess, at Penn State with Carl Nassib, their defensive end, who put up huge numbers.
Right.
Let's see what he can do with this Tennessee group, because Tennessee has playmakers at every level of that defense, the defensive line, at linebackers, and in the secondary. And this Kongbo kid, I don't know if you've seen the pictures of him.
I have.
He's ridiculous. So
he does not look real.
No, he is some sort of freak. But I want to see what that guy looks like. Let's put him in pads against real competition, and let's see.
I completely agree. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Joining me in studio today is Chris Goforth. And let's jump to Georgia, because I think Tennessee's going to win the East. But of the teams in the SEC East, Georgia's probably the team with the most threats to Tennessee there. If Tennessee's not able to win it, it would be Georgia, you would think. And Kirby Smart has got some pressure going on him coming in, just because of the team that he's inherited. He's inherited a pretty good team. That Georgia running game, it looks like, a lot of doctors are saying, it looks like Nick Chubb may actually be ready to start the season.
I think not only does Nick Chubb play against North Carolina, Keon, I think he probably runs for $125 against them. I mean, I think he is. I was at Georgia's practice on Saturday. Now, he didn't do any cutting on that knee, but I think Nick Chubb is ready to go. Sony Michel has still got the cast on his hand. It wouldn't surprise me if they didn't club Sony Michel.
Right.
I don't know that they're going to need, well, maybe they need him against North Carolina, but I think they may try to wait and be a little bit slower with Sony Michel about getting him back, especially if you've got a healthy Nick Chubb. And here's the other thing. Nick Chubb spoke to the media last week on Wednesday, 1 week ago. If he's not going to play week 1, if he's hurt, you don't send a hurt guy out there to talk to the media.
That's true.
So,
and I did read some of those comments.
Yeah.
He seemed very confident.
Yeah, that's the reason why I think he plays. I mean, I just think it's a gimme that that Nick Chubb is behind or next to whoever the quarterback is.
Nick Chubb that's a scary guy there. And then, of course, the quarterback situation, you end up with, you've got Jacob Eason.
Right.
Is it, and I think this is where Kirby's job is pressure-filled, is when do you run him out there? Do you just not? And
here's my thought, okay? And this is my thought. I don't know what they're going to do necessarily, but I do think the Georgia coaching staff, they already have a plan for Jacob Eason. I don't think he starts. I think it will be Grayson Lambert. I'm not a big Grayson Lambert guy, but I think that he's probably the guy that gets the start. But I do think there is some sort of package that's put in place to get Jacob Eason on the field. Maybe it's a series, maybe it's 2 or 3 series. But I think the first 2 to 3 games of the season, as Georgia kind of ramps up, you will see him getting a chance to play in every one of those games. I think the Ole Miss game is, and I'm going off the top of my head here, but I think the Ole Miss game is the 4th game on the Georgia schedule. So if that's the case, I think through the first 3 games, you give him a chance to show what he can do. And then by the time you get to Ole Miss, which is going to be the first, and I don't want to downplay North Carolina, but the first SEC challenge that Georgia is going to have is against Ole Miss. And if that's the case, you've got to have him ready, or know at least going into Ole Miss what you're going to have out of him.
And you're right. That is the 4th.
Yeah, I think the first 3 games you're going to see him. You're going to see him on the field at some point in time in all 3 of those games, because I think they want to know what he can do. And physically, he's probably, I'm going to say 20 pounds heavier now than he was in the spring. Okay, he looks like an SEC quarterback. I mean, he passes the eyeball test.
Okay, and because to me, if that's the thing, because like you don't want like a skinny high school kid out there.
No, and he doesn't look like a skinny high school kid anymore. But can he recognize where the blitz is coming from? Can he make the audible to get you in the right play? Matt Stafford is and was and remains the best high school football quarterback I've ever seen. Mel Kiper said that when he was coming out as a senior in high school, Mel Kiper predicted correctly that Matt Stafford would be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft in 4 years. Well, he was the number 1 pick in 3 years. So Stafford's the best I've ever seen. Jacob Eason is not Matt Stafford, and Matt Stafford didn't start from day 1 at Georgia. So that's the reason why I don't think that Eason starts from day 1. And I think if I'm Kirby Smart, if you can get through this season without having to play him a lot and expose him a lot, I think that's what you try to do if you can. But they're going to use him in those first 3 games because they're going to have to answer that question from the crowd and from the fan base at some point in time.
I would think so. But because the issue there is, of course, you just don't go around starting true freshmen very often.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It doesn't normally happen because he's either going to get himself killed or somebody else killed playing in that league. Correct. Unless he can identify, and be able to pick up blitzes and stuff like that.
But I would like to see him eventually because I just criticized Josh Dobbs for having a weak arm. Grayson Lambert is king noodle arm to me.
Now I guess noodle arm may be the best way to describe it. There's just something about the ball doesn't look right when it leaves his hand.
No, like there's a zip that you expect, and there is none of that.
It's more apparent when you watch him with other quarterbacks. Like when you see him in a game, I don't know that you really get the full effect of it, but when you see him throwing with Bryce Ramsey and with Jacob Eason, it really becomes noticeable then where you go, holy cow, this guy that ball doesn't look right when it leaves his hand.
That makes a ton of sense. This is Clutch with Keon Rose. Joining me in studio is Chris Goforth, helping me answer some pressing college football questions. So Kirby Smart, what game could he lose that would make all of the Georgia fans? I don't want to say turn on him because it's still his first season. He couldn't really do anything to lose it. But
I think any of them. I think because it's Georgia. You look at what Urban Meyer did in year number 1 at Ohio State. Look at what Jim Harbaugh did, even though Harbaugh had some losses. But look at the hype around Michigan last year in year 1 for Harbaugh. I think Kirby is going to be under that same sort of microscope where people are going to expect 9, 10 wins right out of the gate. So anything less than that, and I think, and it's not fair, okay, but I think there's enough, delusional Georgia fans that feel like that, 9, 10 wins is a birthright. and you should get to 9 or 10 wins. And if you don't, then, you should be fired.
In fairness, Mark Richt did set a pretty high bar there. Those 9 or 10 wins were guaranteed for about 15 years.
There you go. and then you go and fire him, and now what? So Kirby appears to be. I think he was the right guy. I really like the staff that he's put together, but you got to go prove that on the field now. You've got to have those guys ready to go. They do have plenty of talent at running back. I think the offensive line will be okay. They've got a little bit of depth. What do they have at wide receiver? Who's going to be the wide receiver at Georgia that emerges? And then defensively, I don't think you'll see a whole lot of difference with Mel Tucker replacing Jeremy Pruitt, only because Tucker comes from that Nick Saban tree, as does Kirby Smart. That defense will be a Kirby Smart defense. I think, Kirby's definitely going to have his hand in what's going on defensively at Georgia. So, again, can they be pretty good? Sure. But, we'll see. I think I like the schedule they have, because other than Ole Miss, which is on the road, most of their other tough games, the Florida game is at a neutral site in Jacksonville. They get Tennessee at home. They avoid Alabama this year. And I think they get Auburn at home too, right? Home. Yep. Yeah, and Auburn's a dumpster fire right now. So I feel like the way the schedule sets up, the idea that Georgia may win 10, it could happen.
Probably very easily.
Yeah.
So over in Alabama, Maurice Smith is a graduate player that would like to transfer from Alabama to Georgia. Nick Saban not allowing it. And LSU athletic director Joe Oliva said that the SEC should probably look into changing that rule.
They probably should, but now this has been a rule that has been in place, kind of an unwritten rule that has been in place in the SEC, that you typically don't go from one school to another within the conference. I know, Kirby Smart has no problem with Smith coming over from Alabama. Kirby Smart would not allow A.J. Truman, his former tailback, to transfer to Miami to follow Mark Richt. So I think that's a little bit hypocritical on the part of Kirby Smart.
It's very hypocritical.
Should it be fixed? Probably. If a coach can up and leave in the middle of a contract, if that's the case, then I think a player, certainly one that has graduated and has essentially done his duty at Alabama, if he wants to transfer and go someplace else, he probably should be able to. And I don't think Nick Saban would block him if he wanted to go to Michigan State.
He wouldn't.
Because he wants to go, because he wants to go play for his former coordinator in Kirby Smart, Saban has said no. And again, that's kind of it's one of those unwritten rules that's been around the SEC for a long time. You just didn't allow that stuff. You could transfer, but you don't transfer within the conference. So, if they want to allow guys to transfer around, if you're going to let coaches leave at the end of seasons, then why not allow these guys to be able to transfer at the end of season, especially those that are graduate transfers?
Correct. This is Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Chris Goforth joining us in studio, and he will be hosting the high school football jamboree. I encourage you to go out there and take a look at Soddy Daisy High School, Hickson High School, and Red Bank High School as they get the first opportunity to play some football.
Should be a good time. Again, it'll cost you $8 at the door, $6.30 for the first quarter gets underway. But, gates will open up probably around 5:30. So come on out. Zaxby's will be there serving up some food. So come get some chicken and watch some football.
All right. Remember, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch. Thanks, Chris Goforth, for joining me in studio. Sons of Liberty up next.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
With every election, the government always gets in. You're right to be angry. We have no free market, red tape everywhere, taxes crushing. There's no level playing field. Tomorrow may be a day of reckoning. But there is something you can do. It's personal safety, personal security, shooter supply and indoor range. Find the handgun or long gun suitable to you. Take a concealed carry permit class. Use Shooters Roomy Indoor Private Shooting Range. Get expert personal advice. Shooter Supply fights boldly against big boxes. It helps people understand firearms. A free republic has become a despotism. Let them choke on their swag. For us, we invest in personal safety. In the Second Amendment, fight back, shop local. The country is in a desperate situation, but you don't have to be. Shooter Supply, love your neighbor, buy local. 875-4868, 875-4868. Shooters-range.com. Shop shooters-range.com. Think about the future. What about your kids?
On your signature, you can get $150,000. Can you believe that? $150,000 on your signature. Hi, I'm Bruce Krebs with the Entrepreneur Source. There's a program right now that you can get $150,000 on your signature with no pledge of collateral or personal guarantee. Call me at 423-875-5621 to learn more. 423-875-5621. You've been thinking about starting a business? Don't do it on your own. I have a proven track record for the last 13 years, a 96% success rate. I can guide you into a franchise where you will pay yourself through the startup phase with very low or little risk. Call me now. I'm Bruce Krebs at 423-875-5621. And make sure to listen to the Entrepreneur Hour every other Wednesday from 11 to 12 o'clock. Call me now, 875-5621.
Do you feel better outside your home or business than in? Indoor air quality is important. Mildew, mold, smoke, water.